So the shiur today is on Tumah and Tahara, and how does it really fit with relationships in general. So there's a concept in Judaism that we call it Tumah and Tahara. Very little is known about what is Tumah and Tahara. I mean, we're not so familiar with that. We don't really feel it, and so on and so forth. So it's very foreign to us. We think usually Tumah is something that is dirty, and Tahor is something that is clean. Well, not really. There's something to it, but not really. Tumah, the remes to start realizing what things are, for example, in Hebrew words, is we can look at the root of the words. Tumah represents what we call in Hebrew atimut. Liot atum is to be blocked, opaque, not clear, closed within. As you would say, Tumah, atum, k'tiv chaser will be with a vav, k'tiv maleh. Tahara will be your ability to expose, or an ability to expose yourself or oneself to whatever is sitting right now in front of you, whatever is in front of you. Your ability to be clear. Atimut, closeness, refers to many times as emotional closeness. A person is not able to connect emotionally. He's not able to understand other people's point of view. Therefore, to understand feelings or whatever that will come. The small person, I'm not talking about sizes here or importance in jobs and so on and so forth, but the ha'adam ha'katan, a small person, will be tameh. Ha'adam ha'gadol, the great person, will be tahor. On tefillah we say, v'taher libeinu le'ovdecha be'emet, and purify our hearts in order that we could worship you truthfully. In other words, help us to expose ourselves to tahara, to purity, to those 50 gates of purity that we say that they are. They're against the 50 gates of purity, there are 50 gates of impurity. As Bnei Israel were in Mitzrayim, they were exposed to 49 gates of impurity. If they would have fallen into the 50th, there will be no way out of it. So to correspond with that, to create balance in the world, there are 50 gates of purity. Help us expose ourselves to those gates of purity so we could walk in, so we could purify ourselves. And the same thing as you take, for example, the story of Eov. Job had a miserable life. It was very difficult. And in the beginning, he didn't really know how to deal with such situation. He went to his friends. They couldn't help him. He went to counselors. He went to this, went to that. It didn't really work. Things just didn't work for him. Only towards the end, HaKadosh Baruch Hu opened him a little gate. But that little gate was opened by HaKadosh Baruch Hu only after Eov was willing to expose himself to the spiritual dimension. And the spiritual dimension is, we call it Hamimad Ha'al Ishi, the dimension that is above the person. In other words, the selfless dimension. You cannot be a spiritual person if you're selfish. It just does not happen. And if you think that someone is, or someone think he is or she is spiritual, and there is a little smidgen of selfishness in them, they're not spiritual. And that's a fact. So only after he was open, or willing to open himself to selflessness, he got to understand, or rewarded with the understanding of what is exactly happened with him, and he was okay with that, and then he was able to move on from what happened to him. Therefore, tahara, purity, depends a lot, as we can see from that particular example of Iyov, on your perspective. Change in the perspective would help you reach a path of purity. Change of the outlook of how you look at things. Tum'ah, closeness, emotional, cognitive, closeness from between a man to himself, between a man to his fellow human being, between a person and his creator, are really limiting. It's a limitation that is there. And that limitation comes from lack of excitement. He doesn't feel he's connected. He can't bring himself to be really excited about things. There is a emotional coldness, frigidity inside of him. Mike, come here. His way of thinking are also going to be disconnected from reality. Therefore, a person must teach himself all from the beginning, all over again, to excite himself, to get excited over things, to tremble a little bit, to feel a certain sense of rejuvenation. For example, if you get up every morning, every single morning, say, oh my God, I gotta go to work again. I just can't do this. I can't take it. I can't take it. What do you think will be your chances to succeed in the job, even if that's the job of your dreams or the job of somebody else's dream? Your chances to succeed will be 0. But if you are excited about something, all right, it's a new day today. I'm going to meet new people. I'm going to try. It doesn't make a difference what you do. You're going to succeed. You're going to be happy about things. And it's a tremendous thing to remember. Your ability to get excited over things, to elevate yourself up, to get all pumped up about something. But that's great, let's go. Sometimes we use that technique of getting ourselves excited to things that don't really make sense. I mean, for example, you want to go watch a football game. It's terrific. I think football, especially American football, is a tremendous game. But I would like to play it. I don't want to watch somebody else having fun. It's like, did you ever, let's say for example, you're hungry. Did you ever think, okay, guys, let's go to a restaurant and let's watch people eat? No, I'm going to eat. I don't want to watch people eat. I want to eat. I want to play. But what do? Let's go. It's exciting. And you convince yourself. And then all of a sudden you find yourself really looking forward to getting to the game. You create an atmosphere. We're going to have a little bit tailgate. That's, by the way, why they made pickup trucks. So you can have tailgates, right? It's a lot of fun. And you look forward for this. And it's cold and it's raining and it doesn't make a difference. And your team wins or loses. Or if the Jets, they always lose. But nevertheless, it's still... Somewhere along the line, you still find, even if it's the Jets, you find 50,000 people or 70,000 people are willing to go to a game. It doesn't make sense. How do they do it? You get yourself excited. It's very simple. Especially you need to be excited, psyched up about, feeling very nervous when it comes the time of tefillah, about prayer. Again, I made a typo here. If we say on Shabbat and Yamim Tovim, v'taher libenu le'ovdecha b'memet, purify our hearts in order for us to worship you appropriately, truthfully. In other words, we are saying, open our hearts so we'll be able to love you. And you'll see the connection, Be'ezrat Hashem, between love, joy, purity, and success as well. A person needs to understand that he must bring himself, and I'm using the way he, because it's just easier for me. I don't want to he, she, I'm not in a college, he, she, it, right? He needs to bring himself to a point of different thinking. Somewhere along the line, we find ourselves very burnt out, very depressed by the ongoing grind of day-to-day routine. Somebody once told me, he said, if you tried all the right moves business-wise, you went to the right schools, you took the right jobs, you did all the right things, and somewhere along the line you're still not successful, if you want to succeed, do exactly the opposite of what you did so far. You got to think different. So if we keep on doing what we do, and for whatever reason we don't feel this internal joy inside of us, something is wrong. We need to change the way we think. We need to change the way we look at things. And you need to look at your point of view should be a point of view where it would allow you to open up. You have to open up. You have to be a person who doesn't have a problem opening himself up. To purify yourself, to bring yourself to a state of rejuvenation and renewity. You have to renew yourself all the time. In Hebrew it's called hitpa'alut. Hitpa'alut means to be at awe. To look at things and saying, let's call it wow factor. You have to have this little wow factor of your life. Wow, man, that's great, excited. Almost like a little kid. A little kid gets excited. He is very hopeful because the future is ahead of him. So every little thing is, wow, wow. What happened to this wow inside of us? We don't have it. We don't have this. We're not excited about anything. If we're not excited about anything, how do you want anything to happen to you? How do you expect yourself to succeed in your life? How do you expect yourself to develop a kesher, a connection with Ribbono Shalom? How do you expect to have a connection with your spouse, with your children? How do you expect to have a connection with yourself if you don't have this excitement? You go into the day-to-day, on and on, and on and on. And whatever all of a sudden, something that was terrific and awesome 10 years ago became horrible now. It's like you don't see the point. It's like you ask yourself, what am I doing here? What am I doing with this person? What am I doing with this job? What am I doing with my life? I can't stand it. There's no more excitement. So you need to change it. Many times, we also get angry. We get upset. We get even disgusted by people that come our way, sometimes our spouses, sometimes our children, and we get very angry. Their behavior. Many times a person needs to understand that those people around us are really vessels, instruments, that are put in place in order for us to be able to fix ourselves. In a way, it's like a mirror that comes our way, that shows us what we need to fix inside of us. If we're going to be brave enough, if we'll be brave enough to admit that what exactly bothers us by looking at the other person is what I need to work on. We're not brave enough to say that. That is the blemish that I carry. Because if I am already fixed and I did all the job, I don't see this blemish. I only see what is wrong. Chazal said already, Kol haposel bemumo posel. If you see a blemish by someone, by something, means that you share it and you have it, and you're only able to see the blemishes according to what you have. Kol haposel bemumo posel. And what this teaches us is that on and on we tend to give a testimony about ourselves, but somewhere along the line we fail to understand that. We are in a complete internal disconnect. יש לנו נתק נפשי פנימי. We're disconnected. So, how do we go about it? How do I go about fixing this situation? How do I go about changing this? Where do I begin? You know, like the famous song. First point, maybe one of the most important points, is to be loyal to yourself. We call it in Hebrew, ha'ani hashikri, the lie within me. The me which is untruthful is what the Kabbalah said that comes, that lie that we keep on telling to ourselves, the untruthful me, according to Kabbalah, comes from the nachash, from the snake, from the impure sides of creation that was able to put his blemish inside of us, that usually refer to the external. What makes me look at things on the outside, on an often chitzoni, on an external side, not a pnimi, not to look what's really matters inside. The tum'ah comes from that. Our concentration on what is not important. For example, our obsession with, let's say, things that don't really make a difference. Whether it's crumbs of food on the table. Why are you playing with this? I don't know. I just like to play with the crumbs of bread on the table. Right? Why do you do all these things that, you spend our lives, dealing with things that are not important instead of dealing with what is important? Why we look at people how they look, not how they are inside? That ability, that impurity comes from the side, according to Kabbalah, from the side of the nachash, from the side of the snake, of this metaphysical creature that put the tum'ah into mankind. And that is something that I am enslaved to. In other words, I always think about, what does the world think about me? What do other people think about me? How would my action looks in the eyes of somewhere else? Where in reality, I'm never concerned about myself. How do I look in the eyes of myself? Who am I? I'm so concerned about you and you and you, but I never bother to really take care of how do I look in myself? How do I feel about myself? Therefore, there is a disconnect, which is a paradox. Because if I care, if I care so much about what everybody else says, and I don't care about myself, how could I care about what they say? It's a lie. It's a paradox. You're incapable of not caring about yourself and then care about what other people say. It's impossible for you to do it. Therefore, we need to get to know our internal truth and to hold it very tight. And after you reach this internal truth inside of you, then you can go on the journey of really working things out. We need to understand, though, that only a person that has simcha, that has happiness, that has joy inside of him is capable of doing that. And we're not talking about about joy as external joy of laughter, of having a good time and smiling and so on and so forth. We're talking about joy and happiness from a thinking perspective. In other words, you're not thinking as a happy person. Machshavtit, ata lo sameach. In your mind, you're not happy. You're not thinking in a positive manner. It's always dark. It's always negative. You're not going to be able to do this change inside of you unless you're happy. And why is that? Because without that will to purify yourself, without the joy of rejuvenation, of renewal, of building new things, without that will, to be motivated. You have to want to be motivated. Without that will to be motivated, it is impossible to go on this journey, because anyway, we don't have any will to succeed. And if we don't have any will to succeed, guess what? We'll never will succeed. We'll stay failures to the rest of our lives. According to the Kabbalah, we have what is so-called moach, or M-mochi. There is a brain, but not necessarily the brain biologically. We're talking about Kabbalah. We're talking about a little bit more philosophical and spiritual concepts. So, take it like this. So that is so-called M-mochi. M-mochi, the moach that comes from the mother side, so-called, is the part inside of us that thinks, that feels. It's in a way a combination between your left brain to the right brain, somewhere in between, one of those things. That needs to be, that M-mochi, that motherly brain needs to be in a state of joy. It needs to be clean from foreign concepts. It needs to be clean from very superficial way of thinking. You have to be able to think deep. That's why philosophy today is a unwanted topic in college. I think philosophy is very important. It creates depth in people, and in return, it creates a deep society, not a superficial society. I mean, it is impossible for me to think that people will go in the world without knowing a little bit of at least Viktor Frankl. Something. Why do I need to learn, statistic and organic chemistry if I don't know what's the meaning of life? Sorry. I'm a human being. I'm not a computer. Any computer can do statistics better than me. I need to know about the meaning of life. So in return, I would tell you, please, pick up a book. It's called Men's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, and read it. Nothing will happen to you, on me. Now, we need to understand that there is such thing as what we call atimut rikshit, emotional blockage, that at the end will cause spiritual impurity. It's like a spiritual cholesterol. You don't feel it right away, but slowly, it would stay within the veins of your spirit, and until the point is going to clog it. And then you're going to get a spiritual cardiac arrest. When a person reaches that stage, is unable to withhold himself. There's not going to be room in himself for himself. Yourself is going to be too small for you. You will feel uncomfortable being with yourself. And this is a terrible state to be. It's horrific. There is not going to be a sensation of comfort. There's going to be a sensation of, I'm okay with myself, with who I am. And all you create is a chain reaction which will go like anger, depression, lack of happiness. And depression and lack of happiness are not the same. And at the end, comes right away, is tum'ah, impurity. When you're unhappy, when you're emotionally blocked, you don't feel the pain of other people, you become tameh, you become impure. A society, there's not a society that understands the pain of people. People who don't understand the pain of other people are not ever going to be a pure society or pure people. That's why Am Yisrael is built on chesed. Bnei Yisrael, gomle chasadim. And it doesn't make a difference right now if you keep Shabbat, not keep Shabbat. It doesn't make a difference. Am Yisrael, gomle chasadim, period. That's how we are. It's in the Jewish DNA. And we have to get back to that. That's right, we have rachamim. Rachamim, when you feel I'm sorry?
Rachmanim bnei Rachmanim.
Abu Arnus. Absolutely. Mazer Rahman, a person who feels bad for people. So not only we are merciful, the children of merciful. That's what he was saying. That's absolutely true. That's why you're able, with this ability, to reach a level of purity. That's why you can be pure. You could get yourself closeness to a spiritual person. But when you don't care, you don't care. You will never be spiritual. And in a way, it will affect you. And I'll show you how. And many times we put in relationship as well. Many times we put a mask on ourselves. Samim masecha al panim. Rabotai, it's not Purim. Life is not Purim. You put a mask on yourself, and that in return creates a separation between the couple, between the husband and wife, for example. Very common, very often. You're unable to speak to your wife or to speak to your husband. Say, listen, I'm going through a little bit of hard time. Let's sit down and talk, Be open. Why are you afraid? What is that you have to put those barriers? Your lack of ability to communicate in return will create a separation. You're not going to think as one anymore. You're going to be separated. That separation in return will create now a state of anxiety. Your spouse comes, you feel uncomfortable, anxious. In return, you're going to feel sad. Because what happened to our relationship? You're going to feel sad. And in that sadness, there's going to be a vacancy, an opening. That opening, Tum'ah is going to fill up. And now it's all over. That's, by the way, how all of a sudden one spouse cheats on the other, and so on and so forth. That's Tum'ah. Why? Lack of communication. You have to remember, though, that the Tum'ah did not just fall in. The Tum'ah started when you put your mask on yourself. When you created the barrier, that mask was a barrier. That mask was there to prevent you from opening yourself up. Remember, we started by saying the tahara is your ability to expose yourself to that situation and to be quite clear. Tameh mishum atum. I'm closing within. I'm putting a paper bag on everything. As much as the more the person will become pure, the less he would need defense mechanism. The more pure you are, the less you need it. There's going to be more opening, more understanding. And when you have it, mimele, in any case, you could connect yourself with greater ease to Kedusha. Why? Because there is joy. We have simcha in us. And because we have joy, there's going to be more love in our lives. In other words, the meaning of life would be when there is tahara, when there is purity in our lives, and there's more understanding, it becomes a better match. And in other words, there is a lot of material in which we can work with. There's a lot of stuff that we can work with. Understanding, love, joy, and purity are building blocks of your relationship. You don't have it in your relationship, you don't have a relationship. It's not going to work. And that's a fact. You must have those things in your relationship. That's an indicator. If you go out with someone, a girl, a guy, a girl, a guy, not the other way. You know what, I'll tell you that. Even between two friends, Shnei Sachbakim, Aval Sachbakim, the old style, yeah? Okay. If there's no understanding, Elanu Havana, we don't understand each other. It doesn't fit. En hatama. En simcha. You see the person, shalom, shalom. You don't have this real joy. Hey, how are you? You don't have any relationship. It doesn't make a difference. You should understand that relationship is a relationship. You have to have the same building block. If there's no respect between each other. So what kind of a relationship is that? What is this, the United Nations? It doesn't work. So is in tefillah. Why did I say tefillah, prayer, earlier? Tefillah supposed to bring us to the most inner place in a person. Amok, המקום הפנימי ביותר. And a place that you're able to observe, to contemplate. That you'll be able to reach the place that is called Be'er Mayim Chaim, a well of pure water. And it really is like a well. A well is something deep. You go inside, it's dark, and then you find water. Mayim Metukim, Mayim Chaim. When you pray, it should bring you inside. Don't fall asleep on me. When you pray, you should be able to have this process inside, to going inside. As much as the Midrash brings, the same thing as the Midrash brings about the Rivka and Yitzchak. The relationship between Rivka and Yitzchak are amazing. If you're going to look at the Siddur, give me Siddur Shal Shabbat. Hello, don't sleep. So yeah, Siddur, yalla, tavi Siddur. Please get you up like this. Now everybody can see who's sleeping here. That's him. No. Hello, it's a little Tasi Kirkas. I think I can see anything here. On Shabbat, look, on Shabbat, we have here, B'fi Yesharim Titromam, B'sifte Tzadikim Titbarach, B'shon Chasidim Titkadash, B'kerev Kiddushim Tithalal. If you, בבוקר. לא, לפני ברך הוא. So if you look at here, לאחרי ים סוף, באמצע נשמת. If you see, it says יצחק ורבקה. Why יצחק ורבקה? The Midrash tells us that they used to stand, Yitzchak used to stand in one corner, Rivka used to stand in the other corner, and they used to pray together. It's an unbelievable closeness of them praying like this together. When you reach this point of such understanding, of connecting to this pure Be'er Mayim Chaim, you need to understand that as dark as it is, you would know that there's always going to be a beam of light in the bed, in the dark, in the difficult, in the challenge, in the obstacle. There's always going to be this point of light inside of you that you'll be able to find the good. There is no such thing in the world as absolute bad. Absolute bad could not maintain itself. There's no livelihood. There's no ability for the bad to live without the good. So even in the most dark of all places, the darkest place of all, you'll find something good. So regardless of how hard and difficult your situation, if you be able to go inside of you, to look, to pray, in tefillah, deep down inside, you'll be able to find the point. As what Shimshon says, Me'az yetza matok. From something mighty, hard, a hard situation, some good came up. Some sweetness came out of there. So even in the most difficult situation, if one will able to do this, will be able to find the good, and then he can say, okay, gamzula tava, there's something good happened there as well. Therefore, when we look at life, from a perspective of a meaning, your goal in life is to live life that are full with meaning. Life with no meaning, and no life. So when you look at life from a perspective of meaning, not which profession will give me the most money, which field, which topic, which subject will bring me the most meaning in my life. Because regardless of how much money you'll make, if there's no meaning in what you do, you are not going to make that money. You're not. It's a fact. And if you have a meaning in your life, and you have a topic that has a meaning, or a field, whether it'll be education or shoemaking, if you find meaning in that, you'll have life. I don't know about money, but you'll have life. So that's something important. So if we're going to do that, if we're going to strive all the time to look for this light, Mimele, we're going to find it. We're going to find it one way or another. If you look for something, you're going to find it. That's why the Torah put great emphasis that the Jewish home will have tahara, purity inside of it. And that quality of tahara always is going to have, the byproduct of it will be rejuvenation, joy of renewal, creation. By having this quality of tahara in your home, you could cure many aches and pains that will come your way, and they will come your way whether you like it or don't like it. Every one of us will experience, unfortunately, some moments of pain in his life, some discomfort in his life. Depends on your ability to find that light. You will be able to overcome it. If not, it will crush you like a tsunami. You're not going to make it. And we have to remember that we have to have what is so-called chedvat chaim. Chedva, not only simcha, chedvat chaim. In Arabic, they call it a little bit of, they call it khir, that there is good flavor to life. And that only can come when yesh lecha simcha, when you have happiness inside of you. This is very important. Therefore, we need to remember the darkness, choshech, ulo amiti, is not real. Darkness is not real. Tum'ah is not a real substance, because the only thing that is real is HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the light. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is pure. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the only real thing in this world. God is the most real thing we get in this world. Our life is not real. As we did it the other day. How do you know you're not dreaming now? How do you know this is not all a fantasy? Maybe it's a dream you have. How do you know it's not? How do you know it's real? Do you know it's real? What makes you know it's real? You're going to eat a sushi or something? You don't know. You know that the life that you live are real? Thank you.
How do you know it's not real? How do you know it's not real?
Well, let's find out. You don't know.
Yes.
You don't know. That's exactly the point. Even if you do or you don't, you already have doubt. So when you have doubt, you don't know. Either you know or you don't know. You have doubt, you don't know.
I pinch myself in the morning, I feel it.
How many times you felt other things in your dream and it wasn't real, it was a dream?
I wake up and
Now, but more than that, so what's the purpose of darkness, of choshech? As simple as that, is a test, is a nisayon. Darkness, hardship, is a nisayon. Therefore, we need to understand that this process takes time, like any other thing in the world. Process, it takes time. In the world that we have everything instant, everything immediate, it's very hard for us to commit to something that takes a long time. But Chazal already said, Yagata umatzata ta'amin. You work hard, you will achieve. Then you know it's real. En metzia belo yegia. You're not going to achieve something unless you're going to try hard. Liot yagea is to work hard. So you want to have real success, got to work hard. If not, it's not real. Therefore, that's why the issue of Tumah and Tahara are important. That's why Tahara is connected to Tshuva, of a person making Tshuva. When a person wants to be new, he wants to purify himself. That wanting, that need, must come from inside. When we are not willing or able to reach this point of truthfulness, internal truthfulness, we are not able to reach internal and truthful connection. That connection, first of all with ourselves, is going to be effective and is going to be impossible for us to reach. Why? Because of lack of simcha, joy, happiness, and meaning in our lives. it will be impossible for us to have any relationship, whether it's with God or a person or ourselves, if we're not going to have that wanting, that need to create, to get excited and new all the time. That's what Chazal said, never pray as a burden on you, that tefillah is a burden on your shoulders. Always look forward to. It's a new thing. If you're not able to have a relationship with God, which is the most passive, in a way, entity in a relationship, I have a hard time to believe that you're going to have a fruitful and beneficial and healthy and normal relationship with anyone, including yourself. That's why in the Jewish home, again, we must have tahara. When, for example, the husband and the wife are married, the woman goes to the mikvah, she goes to the mikveh, then there is itchadshut, renewal. It's like the Gemara says, when the wife comes back from the mikvah, she is desired by her husband like the day of the wedding. Why? It's renewal, purity. There is a joy. He's happy to see her. That is a building block for a relationship. That will enhance your relationship. Rabotai, look for this point inside of you. Look for the happiness. Try to strive, beg for purity. ותהר ליבנו לעובדך באמת. ותהר ליבנו בתורתך. Pure ourselves, our hearts. Let us open. The Torah will be a cleaning cloth of your spirituality inside. It will clean you spiritually. There's no better vessel to purify your soul than the Torah. שאפילו אור שבא, even if you learn Torah, שלא לשמה, אפילו אור שבא מחזירם למוטב. Or the light of the Torah will bring them back to good. And a person needs to be sameach, sas v'sameach, lifnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You have to be happy. You see from Yaakov Avinu, when he was happy, he was content, he saw his children, Ruach Hashem, the Holy Spirit, came upon him again. He was able to prophesy again. So maybe the HaKadosh Baruch Hu will pure our hearts, and we should have simchat olam. Yikoyam banu amikra shekatuv, em abanim smecha, the mother of the sons is happy. Va'az ayinu kesmechim, which is a very important rule in Judaism. La'avod et Hashem besimcha, to have this joy as renewal and happiness. As b'schutze, Am Yisrael will first of all come together. The unity of Am Yisrael is more important than anything else in the world. Believe me what I'm telling you. So first of all, let's bring Am Yisrael together to each other. And after Am Yisrael is together, we'll bring Am Yisrael together, we'll make a shidduch with the Torah, and Be'ezrat Hashem, we'll all be able to be free. Free. Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. We have to be free. And that freedom will come with joy. ונראה בשמחת עולם במהרה בימינו, אמן כן יהי רצון.